when you were cast in Outlander, did you have to keep that quiet?
Yeah, I had to. It was funny because I had my final recall was in LA on the 4th of January. It was actually the first time I'd been to LA. When I first auditioned for Outlander, it was, I think, 2014, and I didn't hear anything for a year, so I just figured I hadn't got the role. And I was really gutted, actually. There aren't many roles, as you guys know, that kind of really cut deep. If you don't get them, you sort of have to just move on. But with this one, I really, really felt it. And so when the first season of Outlander came out, I was being a bit of a brat, and I was like, I don't even want to watch it. I don't want to know who got the role. And then a year later, the audition came through again, and I was like, I definitely auditioned for this. And they were like, yeah, we actually decided to bring the character into season 2, not season 1, so no one got the role, sort of thing. So then auditioned again, didn't hear anything for like 3 months, then had a recall. Then a few months later, had a screen test with my co-star, the love interest co-star. And then in the January, I then had my final screen test with Katrina, who plays my mum in the show, and that was in LA, but I wasn't allowed to tell anyone. So at Christmas, I was in Cheshire at the time with all my family, and one of my brothers lives near my parents near Manchester, and the other one lives in London. And so I told one brother that I was having New Year with the other one, and then told the other one that I was going to the other ones after New Year, so that they would each think that I was in the different place, whereas actually I was just in America and nobody knew. Even then, when I'd got the role and I was in Scotland, I just had to kind of lie about where I was to everyone. And actually it's funny, when my agent called me to say that I'd got the role, because it had been such a quick trip to LA, I was really jet-lagged when I got home, so he'd been calling me for about 5 hours, and it was about 1 p.m, and I was still just KO'd in bed. And then, so then I couldn't tell anyone until I think it was Variety or Vanity Fair did they had the official announcement rights, and that was, I think, the March. So I think we'd already filmed a bit by then. My hair was already red and all of that. And I remember I was in London and I was waiting to get the train back north, and my agent messaged me and said, okay, the release is going out. So I called my brother, who lived in London, and luckily his offices at the time were really near to King's Cross. So I just called him and I was like, bro, like, this announcement's going out. I've got this role. Sorry I didn't tell you, but I'm just really nervous about the announcement going out, because I'd kind of already had a talk with one of the producers. They'd sort of said, look, you don't actually have red hair, you don't have blue eyes, and you're not American. Like, they're not going to love you initially, basically, like, be warned kind of thing. Social media can be a scary place and there's going to be some hate, so just be warned. He was like, but, you know, we know that once they've seen it, they'll hopefully sort of turn around, but for now you're not the sort of look of the books, which, as you guys know, people love a book image, and if you're sort of cast very differently, it's not always that palatable initially. So I called my brother and he's like, okay, we'll just come to the offices and I'll just sit with you while it all goes wild. So I went to his office, and he'd never heard of the show, and it was all cool. And then we went to a place in near King's Cross and just basically had champagne and watched Twitter go mental. And I've actually still got the little receipt from when my brother and I signed the receipt at the end of dinner. And then, that was pretty much that story. But it was funny because when I called my other brother to tell him, neither of them knew what the show was, and they didn't really care about the fact they were obviously happy for me I'd got a role, but it's not like they were huge fans of the show to care what the role was in. My middle brother, all he said to me was, he was just like, oh, I'm really gutted you felt like you couldn't tell me. I was like, no, bro, it was a secret, I wasn't allowed, but it was really sweet. Slam dunk, are you ready to make